Hello, this is Lavinia at Cross Keys Crafts. The other week I created 2 cards, or rather 2 pictures at that point, because I wanted something to enter into the Lavinia Creative Challenge. They have got a challenge on every month and they've got a topic for this challenge, and I decided to create something but not to put my camera on and just enjoy the process. But I think the results were so nice and were so simple to make that I decided on that very evening when I created these cards that I would recreate this card and show you how to do it, because it is so easy. So these are my 2 cards I created. This is the lily stamp and this is the honeysuckle. And all I've done is I've did some heat embossing in gold. I've got a mask here that I created myself. I did some stenciling in the background, some ink blending, some splattering and some colouring. This is really easy and everyone can do that. And I like to put techniques on my channel that people can easily recreate, and also recreate with stamps that they've got in their stash. So you don't need these. I'm going to use actually one that I haven't used before because I only purchased it a few weeks ago, which is this forest leaf. When it came out, I thought I don't need it, but I've seen so many cards made with this now that I put it on my wish list and I added it to my last order. And with this, I'm going to use this stencil here, which also has got these leaves. I normally use it this way around, but because it looks a bit like those leaves, I thought I'm using it this way down. And because I've did one card in sort of yellow orange and the other one in blue, I thought this one I'm going to use 2 greens, and I've only got the lime punch and the pine in the elements. You can use obviously distress inks, distress oxides, any other colours. They don't even necessarily need to be water reactive. I use it for one step here, one technique, but you don't have to do that. But the first thing I'm going to do is I've already cut my card base to just over 5 and just over 7 inches here, because I know I want to cut this down, and especially when I'm doing some stenciling, I like to have the option of cutting it down a little bit on either side, and the top and the bottom. So I'm just going to reuse the mask I had before. This is just a thin cardstock, let's say 230, and I've just cut this out with my oval die, and you can see this is the one I've used for the other 2 cards. And all I want to do is place that sort of in the middle. You can move the image up a little bit if you want to have space for sentiment. I haven't put any sentiments on there just yet, depending on what I would like to use these for, so I'm keeping some space there at the bottom. So I will probably even move it up to the top there. And I'm just using some removable adhesive to keep this in place. So, and I need my stamping platform. I forgot to get that ready. I will quickly do this off camera. So 2 things. One thing you should do whenever you get new stamps, although I never have an issue with the ones from Lavinia, is just give them a good rub and make sure there is no residue here from the production process. So with the other stamps, with the lily, that was coming off a little bit. The only thing I want to do here with a mask is see where I'm placing this. I shouldn't have stuck this down actually. So I want to have that in the center of that oval, so I can pick it up here with my stamping platform. But now, in order to stamp it, I quickly need to remove that. So I'll tell you what I can do is just take it off on one side and then just use this like a hinge. Sorry, I need to move that up a little bit so you can see the full size. Got my lamp in the way there as well. So if I just move it over like this, I'm not losing it there, and then this will be easier. Hopefully that doesn't interfere with the stamping. I'm just putting my magnets back down, taking this one out, and putting this to the side. Sorry about that noise there. So the other thing I mustn't forget which I tend to do sometimes, is to use my anti-static powder. And I'm working, by the way, on my usual 300 GSM cardstock from UK Crafts, it's called, or Craft UK. I find that really smooth and nice to work with. Just moving that lamp there. So I'm just using my Versamark embossing ink, and I'm making sure I'm saturating this thoroughly. Just thinking, I tell you what, I'll take this off after all, because I need to be able to take that off for my embossing powder. So I'm just pressing this down everywhere because it's a big stamp. Also make sure you don't have any air bubbles underneath that can sometimes ruin the stamping. And I've also got a double layer of copy paper there. I find that helps sometimes with the pressure. So sometimes you can see it against the light. I can't tonight. So just keeping my fingers crossed. Just trying to open the box quietly. So this is a little bit too big to dib. There it is. I was looking for my spoon there. Ideally I wouldn't do this above my stamping platform, to be honest, because the other day I realised that I actually have put embossing powder in the stamping platform. So give that a bit of a tap. Yeah, I think that's fine. I've got some excess here that I can just take off, or I use a soft brush. Got these, like these makeup brushes. They're fine. So I'm going to heat set this now. I like to do this off camera just because of the noise. I like to heat up my tool for about 20 to 30 seconds, and then I like to heat set it from the bottom, because then that doesn't blow the powder away. Sometimes the cardstock is a little bit too thick. Make sure you don't singe it from the back if you're waiting for it to heat set. If it doesn't work, just do it from the front. So as expected, I had to do it from the front. It was not setting from the back because it's a thicker cardstock. But yeah, it has heat set nicely, and I really like the look of that gold. So now I can come back in. It's really up to you whether you want to create the outside first or the inside. Tonight I feel like doing the inside first. So I'm placing this back on. It will overlap either at the top or the bottom a little bit, but I would like to place it so that the leaves are sort of in the middle. I'm not paying too much attention to the little dangly bits that are sticking out. Oh, and the card is a bit warped now from the heat, but I don't mind about that too much because we're going to apply a little bit of water as well and moisture, so this is something we can sort out when we finish with it all. So I'm going to do some basic ink blending on this, and I think because I want the leaves to be darker green, I will just come in with the lime punch. So I'm just doing really some basic ink blending. I can't remember whether with these, I know I did a little bit of sprays. This looks actually like I did two different colours, coming in with a different colour on the outside. But it doesn't really matter. There are other ways of putting colour down here, but as I said, I want to keep it really, really simple. And because I'm staying in the same colour family, I don't mind going over these leaves. Definitely want a bit of colour in the middle, and it's not even, it doesn't matter. So I'll tell you what, I will come in with the darker colour, which is the pine, just on the edges. I think that might give a bit of dimension. Just holding the mask down because it is a little bit warped. Doesn't actually show very much, just a little bit there. So, and one thing I'm also doing now, not after I've done the colouring, is coming with a little spritz of water to get a bit of a few specks there. Oh, I'll tell you what, one other thing I need to get ready is my kitchen towel. I always call it kitchen towel, but it's actually toilet paper that I'm using. So just a mist I want. So I'm just holding this away like this. It's a good spray bottle. It does definitely create a mist and not too many drops. And I'm just leaving this to sit. I've got a few thicker drops here in the middle, which I didn't want, and normally it's quite good. Tell you what, this is a different bottle from the other one. That's the one I normally use, so maybe the nozzle is different, but it doesn't matter. So, and it creates these sort of specks. I don't know how well the camera picks it up. And I can leave that to sit a little bit or mop it up. And then because you've got water reactive inks, this will appear lighter. So yeah, there are a few bigger specks, but it doesn't matter. It just gives a little bit of interest and texture to the background, and also takes away from the slightly, well, how can I call it, not so perfect ink blending. So I'm just thinking, the other thing I did, and I can do now, that was an afterthought with these, was the spritzers. So I'll show you how to do that. That's really simple. Oops, something just fell. What I need is just like an acrylic block, or sometimes I use a tile, and I'm just using my ink again. I'm just contemplating whether I want a darker one, whether that will show up. And I'm just using a bit of my water, and then I'm just using a fan brush, picking this up. Now I definitely need a darker one, bear with me. So I've got this distress ink. To be honest, I don't know if that works with distress inks or whether it has to be distress oxides. I bought the wrong one on Amazon. So I'm just putting that on there. Just mixing the water ahead on here, just in it. No, I need more water. The other thing you can use is watercolours if you've got those. I mean, Posca splats. Joe Rice always uses Posca splats. I don't even have a green Posca, I think. So when you've got that, just take another tool or pen and you just spritz it on here. Try not to get too much on the desk. I normally cover it. I think tonight I'm not really prepared, but it doesn't matter. Just turning it this way, so I've got a few splats there as well. And again, that just adds a little bit of interest. I will just pick the few splats up there that I have here, because I want to colour the leaves in. So, and again, that just adds a little bit of interest. I will just pick the few splats up there that I have here, because I want to colour the leaves in. So, and again, that just adds a little bit of interest. I will just pick the few splats up there that I have here, because I want to colour the leaves in. So, and again, that just adds a little bit of interest. I will just pick the few splats up there that I have here, because I want to colour the leaves in. So, I'm leaving this to dry just for a moment because it's obviously the splats are quite wet, and then I can put the other mask on for the stenciling. So I can now put my mask on. I quickly blitzed this a little bit to dry the specks off. There's one speck here that I didn't really want, but I might be able to cut that off. So I'm putting this now in the middle. I think with the other one I probably started off by putting that one down because it had... So huge apologies, my phone stopped recording because I didn't have enough storage space on my phone because I hadn't transferred the video I had recorded before that. So what I've done in the meantime, I quickly want to show you that without taking this off really. I have put the mask on this. I've used some double-sided adhesive, which is the, well, if I say double-sided, I just rolled a piece of that up to keep that in place. And then I've placed my stencil on top. I've just stuck it down on the scrap paper here underneath, not on the actual cardstock, but I think it'll stay in place. And I've used the Lavinia Elements Lime Punch and did some ink blending around this, starting darker and in the middle and then working my way around. And I was just doing that when the message on my phone came up that this had stopped recording. So that's what I need to continue. Luckily I noticed then. So I was contemplating whether I should use the Lucky Clover. No, I'll tell you what, I'll go in with a lime, with a pine, because I know that goes well with a darker, with a lime punch. Otherwise it's too much of a clash. So I'm just holding this down. I might actually take some scrap paper here and hold it down in the middle without creating any sort of patterns there. Keeps my fingers from getting inky. So I want a heavier application on the outside, I think, just because this is a little bit well, not as dark as I would like it to be. I might have to look into getting some more Elements inks, but I'm trying to not have too many ink pads. So I'm just moving this over a little bit. So I think that's enough. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So I can take this off now and show you what it is. So I just rolled up a little piece of adhesive that kept this mask in place. I've got a slight white edge, but it doesn't matter because it just goes along with the white stenciling there. So I'm happy with that. Just to show you in comparison the different looks you can get with stencils, this one has got quite a few openings, so this is much greener in the background than this one has got a lot of white. So, but I like the fact that it matches the leaves here. So all I need to do now is pick some green Kuretake pens. That's what I used on the other one. I need a little bit of water because I'm going to use them like watercolors, and yeah, and then it just needs to be mounted. I've zoomed in a little bit for you so you can see what I'm doing. I've just had a little swatch here with my Kuretake pens, and I'm just going for the 45 and the 41, which is a lighter green and then sort of a medium green, and I think that would be enough. If you don't have these pens, you can use watercolor pencils. You can use your Elements inks to color these in. It doesn't really matter. You don't necessarily need these. And you don't really need two colors either, because you can just use one to blend it out. So I'm just going in the middle with a lighter color, and I'm just applying it like this. and then I'm going in with a darker colour on the outside, but I'm only staying on the outside. I'm not going all the way in because I would like to fade this out with the water. Trying not to go over the edges, over the embossing there. So I'm just picking up the colour there, just moving it about and coming in then from the middle. Let me just zoom in a little bit more. Trying to blend them into each other a little bit. Take a little bit off if I've got too much there. And this is just, you know, just supposed to be fun. It doesn't have to be perfect. If you find you don't have enough colour to move about, you can always come in again with your pen and just add some more colour. Checking whether that's the right one, yeah. Oops. So I will just continue these leaves and we'll just finish them off, and then I think it's ready to be mounted on some cardstock. I have quickly dried my leaves on my first heat setting so not to interfere with the embossing powder, and then I've cut my own card base as a 5x7 card, and I've cut this panel down to 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. With these I went for some coloured cardstock, but because I might use this one as a sympathy card, I didn't want any coloured cardstock because I thought this would be just too much, and I think this is really nice as this is. And yeah, just let me bring these in again. So again, I think it's quite a simple card to make with any stamp you have. It doesn't even have to be a large stamp like that, but I think it's quite nice to just have one stamp as a focus. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed making these, and I think they are really, really easy to recreate. Yeah, and if you like these cards too, you might want to give me a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of what I'm creating, you might want to subscribe to my channel. I'd be very happy about that. And I'll see you soon with another video.